Future State Superman House of L issue 1, Philip Kennedy Johnson writing with Scott Godlewski on the art. So first things first, Godlewski's not a bad artist, but he ain't no Yannon. So compared
In
to
his defense, few people
He's
are.
not trying to be.
few people are, but it's just because those previous 2 issues with Johnson were like exceptional. The second one got the full slate of 10s from his, which
I don't think I'm going to spoil anything right now by saying this isn't going to get a 10 from me.
this is the weakest Superman issue Johnson's done, and why is Matt shaking his head? Do you think this is better than any of those last 2?
No, well, not better. It's different. So I'm not going to. Because I thoroughly enjoyed this, but for different reasons than I did the other one.
I also love this issue, and it will be getting a high score that will reflect that.
Yes.
It won't be getting a 10.
No, but again, I don't know. I guess it's fair to say it's weaker than the other 2 if you're just grading it on terms of score. However, it left me feeling the same way.
With its scope and what it means.
Yeah, Johnson fully understands Superman as a character and what it means for legacy.
What's really interesting is earlier in the week, Matt messaged me and kind of gave me what this book is and why I should be excited for it.
Yeah,
and it definitely did excite me for it. And he also said Pete might hate this book, so I'm really intrigued. Did you like it?
Before I answer that question, I actually am intrigued. Matt, why do you think that I might hate this book?
So it's been well documented when we've discussed, things like Justice League Dark or Wonder Woman.
Mm-hmm.
Me and Connor tend to like the world mythology takes. We care about myths and legends and how that applies with comic books. Whereas you're kind of like, yeah, okay, that's fine. But you don't go, you're much more of a sci-fi kind of
sci-fi, and I would say the actual human drama of it beyond just the because we like the larger than life myth and legend of it, the grand scale.
Yeah. So when this issue starts delving into almost Arthurian legend of the Superman mythos, I was just like, I don't know if Pete's going to be exactly down with this. It's got spacey sci-fi stuff, and it does have, the human drama like Connor's bringing up. But I don't know. I was getting this is a legendary kind of story. And I was like, I don't know if Pete's going to dig it as much. To be fair, I didn't say you would hate it. I did say that
you said you might not like it.
Not like it as much as we are. Where I felt like after I'd read it, I messaged Connor. I'm like, I feel like we're going to line up and just glow about this. And Pete's going to be like, yeah, it's fine.
I really want to find the exact quote of what you said.
Yeah, go ahead. It was also super early in the morning when I had read it, so.
It was. He said, he was asking, he asked me if I'd read it, and I said, no, yeah. He goes, said, Pete's probably not going to like it that much. Was the exact quote.
There you go.
Interesting. I could do a start then. I suppose. I think it's fair to say that it's maybe less to my taste than his previous 2 issues. I think his previous 2 issues were exactly... Because of the thing, I do like the idea of myth and legend in a certain context. In the context of how these characters can become myths and legends to the world around them. And how building themselves to be larger than life is. This, I didn't dislike though. It's kind of... the sort of thing here where I will care far more about this pocket of Superman mythos if we spend more time there and we get to know more of these characters and I get to know them a bit better. Because right now, I mean, as far as I know, these are all new, right? This is just a complete new slate of characters.
Pretty much exclusively, yeah.
Yes.
Outside of when Superman himself shows up.
Outside of one.
Yeah.
One notable exception.
Yes.
When he returns from Avalon, essentially.
Yes.
Pretty much, yeah.
So I didn't get any King Arthur comparisons. I don't know the stuff well enough to even get any of that.
Oh, me and Matt will dive into that later then.
I'm sure you will. I didn't get the joke Matt just made. I have no idea what you meant. So
but you don't know what Avalon is?
I know Peter Avalon.
Oh, you need some education, my friend. You need some real education.
Oh no, that's a wrestling thing, Connor, and completely not in place.
I mean, no matter what it was, I was like, whatever it is, it's not right.
No.
Yeah, I don't care about Laird about
I know
King
Peter
Arthur.
Avalon. I know Frankie Avalon. Both of those don't have anything to do with King Arthur. Anyways, King Arthur, Arthurian legend, quick beats, falls in battle. They take him as he's healing into the mists of Avalon, where he's set to return until Britain needs him again.
And Avalon is basically Arthurian heaven, where he's
right.
not actually dead, but it's kind of there. It's like an afterlife.
Yeah,
you can return from it. Basically, think of Arthur as Jesus in this context, and returning from Avalon is returning from the dead. Right. It's the rising again of Christianity.
Right. So when we finally get to Superman in this book, it's very much, I was getting the big.
Yeah, I'm going to ignore all of this because if I pay attention to this, it'll just make me like it less. So I'm not paying attention to any of this.
Matt, have you started reading Once Future yet?
I don't.
No, I'm going. Let me finish Fatale. And
as soon as you finish Fatale, it better be the goddamn next thing you read. If it's not, I will bloody buy it for you.
I might even pick it up physically instead of digitally, just so I have it. Yeah.
Should.
So, anyways, this book.
Yes.
House of L.
Anyways, right. So some of the things I do because it's kind of, to me, this felt like a almost a specific view on a different kind of Legion take, which is like we're way in the future. It's just we're specifically dealing with the family line, right? So it's whoever's left of the House of L, and some red, what was it, the Red King, I think we're calling him early on. Some mysterious Red Kings waging his war on whatever's left of the House of L, which later on includes an army of Doomsdays, which whatever. But there's one of them's a Blue Lantern. There's a Brainiac there. We get interest in a few of those. There's the sort of the angry
barbarian.
Yeah,
there's a barbarian.
There's a Temerian.
In a historical context, reminds me a lot of like the House of Wessex with Superman being Alfred the Great.
Stop ruining this. Stop ruining this. Anyway, so right, the parts highlight. I like the idea that like the myth of Superman has been going so long that people still believe in the teachings, but some of them actually doubt that he ever existed.
Mm-hmm.
And if anything, my only real complaint with that, because I like when it came up, when the Temerian, who's during the issue loses her father, doesn't really believe that Super, it was a story. It's something to teach us, but he never really existed. Like Superman, that's was something we just told ourselves to sort of make peace with the idea that our planet was dead, and we all had to kind of like go elsewhere. Blah blah. The fact that she has his existence proven by the end of the same issue is maybe my one complaint of that concept. I'm like, I almost wish we went a whole arc with this character thinking that Superman wasn't real.
I mean, I get where you're coming from, but this is constrained to a one-shot. I think I would rather that it give us this and give us the condensed story than just leave us hanging like some of those 4-issue minis did.
I will say, it does a decent enough job in making me like, or at least understand the 4 or 5 distinct characters it was playing with. So I think I trust that Johnson is going to do a good job with more conventional stories. Cause I don't imagine every issue of his Superman in action are going to be like those 2 last issues we got. No, because not everyone can, right? They can't all be that in that style.
This reminds me a lot of his work on The Last God, which is a fantasy book, which is...
Let me finish my thought, right? So that makes me comfortable that he's going to be able to tell more conventional comic book stories with the idea of what Superman means, all these things. That's good. I will say, I don't think this issue needs to be as long as it was. It's like a 40-something page book. And a lot of it is action, which is fairly well done action. But, but by the time we were getting to Armies of Doomsdays, I was kind of like, you know what, this is maybe overdoing it a little bit.
No, but see, I like it because that was meant so psychologically, right? You have this House of L. They all wear the symbol of that house, and the one thing that killed originally the House of L, right, was Doomsday. So of course the big bad is going to try to weaponize that, and it's almost what's the word I'm looking for? It's almost like he's taunting them, right? Like, there's nothing you can do about this. This killed your symbol, and so I do like that. I like how they kind of handle it. They know they can't rush in there and hand to hand.
I suppose the other thing that kind of doesn't work for me that well in this issue is when we get the reveal of who this Red King is.
Right.
Pyrrhus.
The name that I couldn't pronounce.
Pyrrhus.
Pyrrhus. Pyrrhus.
Pyrrhus,
Yeah. Weird word. Anyway, so the part of
Very Greek, which makes sense given his origins.
well, his origins, the thing that I didn't like though, or at least when I say didn't like, it didn't land for me in the sense that it's like, wait, Cersei kind of tricked Superman into having a kid with her. Is that what's
absolutely makes sense for Cersei?
Yes.
I mean, right. We know.
I'm not saying that.
Superman is weak to magic.
Hold
Right?
on. I'm not saying it doesn't make sense from Cersei's point of view to try and do that, but as for reading a Superman comic where I'm not expecting any characters from Wonder Woman to be relevant to anything that's going on.
No, but so
out of nowhere, he's got this illegitimate, well, kind of illegitimate, I suppose, but this weird son that he had much later in life, seemingly, that Cersei's tricked him into.
Illegitimate is exactly the right word, given what this book is doing.
It's a lot.
I mean, this is Mordred.
It's
right?
a lot to. I don't know who that is. It's a lot to swallow. And like, okay, this is a weird concept you've introduced here in the last 5 pages of this book. I guess I'll roll with it.
Right. But for what it represents, right? If I'm looking at this like it is a myth and a legend, and that each piece of this is representative of a different chunk of the Superman mythos, right? Then of course the one weakness that anybody can exploit isn't just magic, right? But it's a sense of legacy and family to Superman. And so of course it's going to be this illegitimate kid that is, trying to end what it means, of this whole Kryptonian or human, whatever the other group represent. And so to me, like, of course, I don't want to think about how Cersei was able to trick Clark into
magic bewitchment.
offspring.
You have to assume, right?
Right. And how far after Lois and John and all of this does that happen? Like, I don't think Johnson's going to get
I would
to
say
that.
far enough, because the others are descendants of Clark.
Right.
That is undoubtable. And you have to assume that is mostly through John.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe
John was spreading his seed around a bit, was he?
I'm just saying, if you look at like a lot of Western Europe, at least 60% of people right now are descended from Charlemagne. That's not weird, given enough time.
I know it was a joke. I know how like generations work and how one person leads to like thousands of people. I'm not a goddamn idiot.
John, that I'm not saying he's weird, sex crazed fiend.
That's your fault for not getting how dumb that joke was.
What if he is?
Maybe he is.
But what if he is?
Maybe he is. Yeah. I don't know for sure that he's not.
Oh, man. I mean, he
John
hanging
Kent.
out with Yara Flor.
That's true. Who would blame him?
No, right?
Why does that explain him having sex with other people, though? That makes sense why they have a kid. It doesn't make sense why he's off humping every other woman left, right?
And he's like, hey, I can't waste these genetics. I gotta produce as many kids as possible.
Oh.
It's like a Lantern Corps of Superman.
Oh.
He really is an old European king.
Oh,
yeah. So,
jeez.
Anyways, so you get this Pyrrhus guy, and he shows up as the Red King, and I'm kind of like, at first, I don't like it because I don't want to sully the Lois and Clark and that whole pure,
relationship.
But then when you think about that, it's Cersei and that she's combining Kryptonian heritage with magic, and of course that would run completely opposite to what Clark Kent's legacy would be, not necessarily Superman's, right? Yeah. I like it. And then how he comes and he wants to bring the end of the line because all of them are descendants and they're basically pretenders. And he's the one true heir. And he's going to burn it down because that's his right. And his name Pyrrhus comes from the Greek word for flame, right? Like it's a little bit on the nose.
And then there's this element of primogeniture with him being the actual son of Clark. So he has this birthright that the others just being other descendants. So he has the seniority.
I'm laughing at Matt saying it's on the nose. I'm like, yeah, it's on the nose. Yeah. So beat me over the head with it. Yeah, I totally got that.
But I've got you've heard the term funeral pyre, right?
Yes.
So you would guess that it probably comes from the Greek word pyros, meaning flame.
I don't know. Pyrrhus was I've never heard Pyrrhus in my life before. Why would I assume that's anything with the word pyre?
How could you look at the name here, Pyros, and not assume that was Greek, and then go, all right, okay, what else sounds like that?
I wasn't thinking what else sounds like it.
Pete's not an etymological.
Yeah. Me and Matt are
Nerd,
way too into the weeds with this stuff, aren't we?
Look, I'll just to sum up my thoughts, because you two are going to go on for like 10 minutes, and I just want to stay quiet. So the whole Cersei thing wasn't exciting to me. It was just kind of weird, and I don't know how to take it. And like, they're going to have to like sell me on this with more stories that make sense, that make it all work for me. Right now, how it links up with Arthurian legend, I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit.
I think it's rad. Like, you know.
I mean, the idea of it needing more stories, to me personally, is baffling. It's clear that Cersei at some point bewitches him to give her a child, and she's like, the idea that she can use this as, world domination, makes perfect sense to me.
Right, and especially how we know Cersei uses men, right? Like the whole story in the Odyssey.
I'm not saying it's out of character for Cersei. I'm saying it's a weird turn in this story.
But I don't think it is, because that happened so far in the past. It's a story that, to our perspective, hasn't happened yet, of course. But it could be still far in the future as well at the same time, given how far in the future this actually is. And like I say, Cersei in the Odyssey, I believe she turns men into pigs, right?
Right. Well, depending on the telling, it's all different kinds of animals. You know,
Yes.
So every animal that's on her island was a man that washed up on the shore, because that's how she views them, right? You know. But also the fact that this is Brainiac 4, right? So this is before Legion times. So where Superman becomes an image, like a symbol as well, you know, like, and not that it's necessarily linear, but just the fact that that Johnson chose a Brainiac 4
as opposed to 7 or 8.
7 or 8, and maybe even in the future. It's just, again, I love that the story acts as it takes the theme of belief and the themes of legacy for Superman and shows what that means in a future. And that even though by the end of it, right, Superman shows back up because Brainiac 4 is able to locate him in some far off area. And he shows up when they need him the most. And he doesn't fight Pyros. He, you know, as Superman that we know and love from the Warworld stuff,
like,
he talks him down.
I've got a better place for you. I know a place where you'll fit in better.
Yeah,
where you can belong.
Right, and I love that even though this dude has killed descendants and waged a war against the name of El, Superman's like, hey, dude, you're just really upset, and let's work on this.
And,
you know,
and I love that
son.
he gives a particular shout out to Brandon, which is the father that
which
died.
is Tamaranian, right?
But he is the most human, the most normal of all the characters, right? All the rest are like, really obviously super in a lot of ways.
Right, and he's the one that told the Tamaranian, who's Theander, told her the stories of Superman as if they were bedtime stories.
Right.
You know, so he was almost
mythologized Superman.
Right. He is the storyteller here in that aspect, and you know the fact that he's the one that dies and basically sacrifices himself.
I think it's really notable. He's the only one to go by Kent instead of L as well. He's Brandon Kent, and all the others are something L.
L. Yeah. And I also like, well, and we get into this too, that like the two Supermen, the twins, right? You have Rowan and the other one.
Ronan.
Who?
Ronan.
And yeah. So Superman becomes like a title for like Earth or whatever they're on, right? So there's still only one Superman.
But there's a lot of L's.
But there's a lot of L's. So I also like that idea too. Like it's not necessarily passing on like the lineage, because if Brandon's taking the name Kent, and you would assume, you know, it's not just a name because he physically resembles.
He does,
Kent, right? The dark features and whatnot. You would assume like that should be his title, but no, it's someone that looks completely different, you know, and that takes that on. And then his sister is the Blue Lantern, right? Yeah. So, and just what that means with hope and the whole Superman mythos on top of that, of course, a descendant of the House of El would eventually wear a blue ring. You know, just like each of these almost represents a different aspect of Superman. and then when you have him return in the King Arthur style way, he's the culmination of all of them. And
I love how much of this just went over Pete's head, and I think to the story's credit, it sounds like Pete still enjoyed this. I mean, jump in if I'm wrong here, but you still mostly enjoyed it.
And
what you read it as.
Ending was a bit weird. It did a decent enough job making me like the characters that were here. I never even once thought King Arthur, and I was baffled when you said something about King Arthur at the start of this. I was like, wait, what are we talking about?
And that's kind of what I'm getting at, though, is that even though you don't have any of that knowledge and you're not
yeah, but I'm not as this is very clear though. I am nowhere near as enthusiastic about this as you guys are.
No. I know, but you still liked it well enough, right? You don't dislike it. That's safe to say, I think.
Sure.
And I think that's on a fundamental level, this story still succeeds at being good enough that you can enjoy this.
Can we talk about how there's a 2-page layout in the middle that makes the Nightwing logo?
Oh, that is gorgeous, actually. I did love that.
Wait. Did I miss that?
Yeah, because at first I thought it was making the S above it. And then I looked, because the top panel is very much in the S diamond. I don't know what you want to call it, the shield. But then underneath it has very distinctly the Nightwing logo. It's split into 2 parts rather than just being one underneath thing. It's in the fight with all the Doomsdays.
It's all I could think when I saw it. I was like, "There's a Nightwing logo here."
Yeah, it's very cool, and I think it's very notable that the background of a lot of those panels in the Nightwing logo is blue.
Yeah,
Which also,
choice.
That's why I always feel like Grayson's also a part of that Superman family, just because, I don't know if this is canon anymore, but the whole reason he takes the name Nightwing is based off of his relationship with Superman.
Yeah,
that when he strikes out on his and when he strikes out onto his own, he wants a name that's similar to where he was, but also pays homage to Superman, who helped get him there as well.
As much as Batman is his mentor, Superman is his hero, and and he wants something that honors both of them.
Right,
and I do think it was a very intentional choice to have that layout in this book. And I did there as well.
And I just also want to just he doesn't get to do much, but Con-El, which also come on, it's so close to Con-El, Connor's Kryptonian name.
It is when
and he gets it right, the barbarian Superman.
No, there's a other one.
Yeah, I know, I was breezing past it, but so just the name. His name is Con-El. He wields a gigantic sword, yet he's not a typical barbarian. He just it's
interesting because, from my knowledge, Khan is essentially a translation of king.
Right.
It is the root of that. So it's really interesting. And this being the House of El will liken it to Arthur and the House of Wessex, things like that, where in theory the one who has the title of Superman is that king.
Right.
Maybe it's closer to him being the king of kings or the emperor in reality, and Khan is still able to be a king as well, a sub-king, which again, makes a lot of sense.
At the end of the day, though, I feel like it's more like Johnson going, it sounds like Con-El, and also that brings the image of a warrior,
I mean, he even has the curved sword, the back out of it. Great design.
It's sort of like,
Lucy does a great job with the designs here on every character.
And
assuming he did.
This is probably the most I've liked Godlewski's art, and I just feel because he has so much space to work here with the different layouts, like the ones you just mentioned with the Nightwing logo and the Superman shield, but just the way the fights flow, and then Johnson even gets out of his way and just there's full pages here with no dialogue or anything.
And I think it's very rare that you just have a page that is structured as traditional panels kind of played through. They're always at angles. They're always fractured in different ways. It's constantly on edge and overlapping with different images. There are very, very few pages, maybe a handful in the entire 40-something page issue that are traditional. Here is your layout of panels across the page. I think that's a really interesting choice, and it's completely breaking the traditional format for this issue.
For sure. I mean, it's really when Pyro shows up is where it starts to get more
It
traditional.
gets
again.
weird as well at the same time because it gets traditional first, and
Mhm.
then it goes off the deep end for all the battle stuff.
Right. So, but no, I really enjoyed this, and it just I remember looking at the cover and seeing all the different characters and being like, oh, this might be cool. I had no idea it was going to go into these,
I
this
was
mythological
yeah,
aspect.
I was looking forward to this only this last week though, based off of the last couple of issues of
Mhm.
Worlds of War and realizing that this was Johnson writing this. Before that, I was like, oh, I'll read it, but I didn't have any attachment to it.
Mhm.
It was only once I realized who was doing it that I was excited by it.
Yeah.
The fact that I lived up is
All right.
pretty good.
And just so
Pete's
we're
bored.
well, I was like, just so Pete's clear now, in Arthurian legend, right? There's a witch or sorceress named Mordred, who's very very close to Circe that tricks Arthur.
You're
No, it's
thinking
Morgana,
of Morgana. Yeah, Mordred's the
right?
son, which is
Mordred's the son.
very a lot more incestuous than Pyrrhus is.
Yeah. But I was doing on the Cliff Notes. I just mixed up my M names. But so Morgana tricks Arthur into producing a son who leads to his downfall and leads to him going to Avalon, because it makes that maybe Arthur's not as pure as the knights think him to
'Cause
be.
in most tellings, Morgana is also his half sister.
Yeah. So here, once we get that, Circe, a illegitimate son, Superman's off, wherever,
It
and
all
he
kind
makes
of
a
clicks
return.
together. Yeah.
It all just like it's like when you get to the end of the Rubik's cube and you just get that final one and you're like, oh,
I see
okay.
it now. Yeah.
Yeah. So
But,
I
but
thoroughly love this issue.
yeah, there was no sword and a stone, so I didn't get any King Arthur references. Uh,
That's just a small piece of it. And
that's the whole
Merlin,
thing.
no.
He's overlooking the entire woman, the Lady of the Lake.
Yeah, and yeah.
And which one's really Excalibur?
Well, and these are his knights of the round, like
Yeah.
so good. I want more of these characters, and I know
the fortress on the moon, which they gave it an actual name, didn't they?
Sanctuary, I think.
That's
Sanctuary.
kind of,
Camelot.
Sanctuary. Sorry, that's kind of his Camelot.
Yeah. So I want more of this, and I know Johnson has said pieces of this are seeding places he wants to go.
That excites me.
Yeah, so I don't know if there's timey-wimey. I don't know, here or there. But after this issue, and I was already sold with Worlds of War, right? This one just, tied it up and gift wrapped it. That I'm very, very excited for his time on Superman. I've even gone so far of, oh man, I wish he wasn't doing action and Superman. We get different voices. I'm cool to have two Johnson Superman books a month.
I stand by that. I wish it was different people.
Yeah.
I would rather him just be on one and a double shipping. But at least it's someone I like. But I do wish it was someone different on the other book.
What are you rating?
No.
What are you rating?
I'm giving this a 9.5.
What? Connor?
It's a 9 from me.
There you go.
7 out of 10 for me, but okay.
It's higher than I thought.
I'll be honest, the enthusiasm for this is a little surprising to me. Like, I liked it well enough, but I came out of this book going, oh, that was definitely a big step down from those other two issues.
I got a Blue Lantern. I got Connell. I got the Brandon Kent. Right? I got the Tamaranian. Like, there's all stuff that I love already.
And that's
it's all in one
before you
spot.
throw in the Arthurian stuff.
Yeah. So, I'm good to go.
Okay, well, we'll see. I definitely know which way I hope the run leads towards more, but
I mean, I would love
start-
if the run went full King Arthur.
Full space fantasy King Arthur. Oh,
I would be disappointed if that were the case. I'll say that.